We had dinner last night. It was very nice.
Hello. Oh my gosh, the matching hotel rooms is killing me.
Emily, we were just saying this is how much we love SPJs. We're missing sessions to be here. So
Yeah, no, thank you so much. How's the conference been so far?
great.
That's
See,
awesome.
it's a really good one.
Nicole was telling me the same. That's awesome. I love that you're both there too. I know Beatrice is traveling, so I don't think we're expecting her. And I will message Joey, who might be in meetings.
Emily, you'll be happy to know I'm actually prepared to do the roll call today. That was one of my goals for this time.
Amazing. Wow, thank you. You really didn't have to be, but I still appreciate it.
Trying to, learn my job.
That's awesome. Hi, Kari.
Hey,
How's it going?
sure around. Yeah, go back on parental leave again uh, on June 23rd. So trying to get stuff lined up and stories finished up.
Nice. Oh, did you do the thing where you take like an opening shift, go back to work, and then like a closing shift? That's so smart.
It is, but also somewhere in the midst of this, our union ratified our collective bargaining agreement, and I got an additional 2 months.
Hmm.
So, which
That's
is great, but it also means that I started with 2 months off, and then I took another month off a couple months ago. Now I'm taking another 2 months off, so it's like start, stop, start, stop, you know?
yeah, yeah. Good
Yeah.
for you though. No, that's so nice that you get some.
Yeah. Good problem to have.
Yeah, that's great. And we love a ratified contract, so that's good news.
Oh yeah.
Hmm. Cool. I think this is it for today. Joey told me he is in, he said work ruins everything. He's in another meeting. So this is probably our full attendance. So I think we can open it to the public. And then Caroline, are you the meeting host?
Yes,
Okay.
unfortunately, I'm the only staff person here, so
Oh
I'm
no. Do you want to make me a co-host
juggling
just to
stuff.
help you
Um,
or if you've got it handled, that's fine too. But
let's see. Let's see. Make co-host. I just made you co-host.
cool. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll help however I can. And
Okay.
I know that when Michael presents on MediaFest, he might want to share his screen so I can like help just facilitate that if necessary, if he needs
Okay.
to. Okay.
Okay.
So I
So,
think we can open it up.
right.
Hi, everyone. We're going to let people roll in for a minute. Is that everyone for now? Seems like it, right? The rush stopped. Okay, great. Love that. Um, I'm going to call this meeting to order, our June meeting. Sarah, would you like to take our attendance, please?
Sure. Emily Block,
Here.
Chris Vaccaro.
Here.
I am here. Sarah Catania. Nicole DeCriscio. Here. Patty Gallagher, Newberry. That was a thumbs up. Okay, got it. Kari Johnson,
Here?
Wesley Wright,
Here.
And we have 2 board members absent. That's B. Foreman and Joey Hernandez.
Great. Thank you so much. Next up, approval of our minutes from March 5th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Okay. Love that. So that is approved. And then I'm dropping the board resources in the chat in case anyone wants to follow along with our paperwork. Great. Okay. Thank you so much. So quickly, a president's report. I don't like to talk too much. A lot of it is already in a written report, which I just sent everyone a link to. And really all I have to say is that it's been a busy month and a half since we last met. Since our last meeting, we've really honed in on our strategic priorities with thanks to our executive director, Caroline Hendry, at the helm. And a lot of that really goes down to advocacy efforts. And you'll see on our website that we have been really committing to those. So you can follow along on our news page to see all of those. And then what else do I have? We are coming on the heels of a successful ethics week. We had an incredible Stillwater Awards, our project with the Prison Journalism Project. And we, as announced as of today, have selected our Fellows of the Society. They are Kat Tenbarge, Dean McKay, and Valeria Hernandez. And I'm so excited, Fernandez, and I'm just so excited. You could see that press release on our website. They will be honored at our upcoming Media Fest. We're really excited about this slate. We obviously had a ton of journalists with incredible credentials to choose from, but I think something really compelling to me about this slate of journalists is that it really it represents journalism in different formats. So what I mean by that is there's an independent journalist, there's a legacy journalist, and there's also a nonprofit journalist. And I think having those 3 people on a panel is just going to be so powerful and talk to us about our media landscape and what it's looking like. So really excited about that and more information on it to come. What else do I have for you? Media Fest. I will say very quickly that as of this morning, we have some breaking news with our Media Fest. Media Fest registration opens tomorrow, and when you access that registration, you will also be you'll be invited to join the president's reception, which is different from a banquet. The breaking news here is that we are not having a formal banquet. We've made some decisions as far as cost and accessibility for our members. We know that DC can be expensive. We also know that DC has a lot of fancy restaurants that people want to eat at. So we are pivoting to more of a cocktail hour, and I'm very excited about it. And I hope that those costs, that cost prohibition will help more people be able to actually come and join us and enjoy it and still be able to see everything that DC is. So more to come on that. I'm just giving you the little teaser, but with that, I'm going to pivot to our next agenda item, which is Michael Koretsky, our committee chair for Media Fest, is going to give us all an update on what's going on there and how we can help and continue to be involved. So with that, I give the floor to you, Michael, and I'm going to also you want to share your screen at some point, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so I will also make you a host. Oh, beautiful.
All right, this is just 2 minutes to give you an overview and then answer any questions you have about Media Fest. It is in the same place that Media Fest was a few years ago, the Grand Hyatt Washington. And if you went there, you kind of remember it's kind of a weird place because you actually have to go downstairs in the basement to get to the convention center. A lot of times you go upstairs. This time you got to go downstairs. And so this is the first floor when you go down. And I just want to highlight this little corner over here, which seems kind of weird that we have these rooms off to the side for the college people. One of these rooms will be for advisors, but the other one is going to be just a little reception area because you are going to be in a convention with lots of college students and they're loud. So if you want to just hang out, you can go to this area, and one of those 2 rooms will just be a kind of a pro lounge where you can just chill out, get a cup of coffee and get away from the students. We're also doing something we've done to past several conventions for CMA, which are themed rooms. And these were, you can just go to this room and know that all the sessions there will be about that topic. One of those will be Freelance Central. All freelance sessions will be highlighted and scheduled in a room programmed and curated by the freelance community and branded by them. So we'll be able to promote the fact that we have a freelance community and do an awesome job because they're going to have their own room. We also have this little weird space over here called the Lincoln Boardroom, which is, as it says, it's a boardroom. Now, what this is good for is we're going to have any committee meetings in here. Ethics committee, the awards committee, whatever. If you want to have a meeting with just several people at a certain time, just hit me up because this room isn't being scheduled for sessions. It's being reserved for any meetings that anyone wants to have. So if there's some time that you want set aside for something that you want to do, the Lincoln Boardroom is available every hour. Just tell me when and where, when you want it, and I'll make sure the where is done. This is the main floor. One of the complaints about the last Media Fest was that with so many students there, SPJ kind of got overwhelmed and swamped. So what we're doing is we're taking this chunk of the main floor, and this is SPJ Hall. This is where SPJ sessions will be. They don't have to just be here, but they'll be branded as being here. That green room, that's an office for Caroline, so that she'll be right where the action is for SPJ. And so when you go down this hall, that's all SPJ. Nothing else will be scheduled there. But as I said, SPJ stuff can be scheduled elsewhere, but only SPJ can be scheduled here. And it is the main floor because that's the Constitution Ballroom is the exhibit hall. So that's where most of the people are going to be. And if you go down one layer, the bottom floor is 5B. There'll be sessions going on there, but this is where the keynotes will be. We're actually going to cut that ballroom down because it's huge. It holds thousands of people, but this will be where we'll have the keynotes. Also, if SPJ wants any special functions here, any awards things, we'll have it all set up nice and pretty. We're going to do something called pipe and drape, which means that we can kind of cut that room down in size so that it will be big for the keynote, but it'll be smaller for more intimate events. If SPJ wants to use, obviously the best AV is going to be in that room. So that is essentially everything for the convention. So I will just, got any questions, hit me up.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. With that, are there any questions for Michael about MediaFest? Mainly from the board, but I'm happy if this is since this is a smaller group, to kind of open it up to general, if it's pertinent to the general event. If not, hit us up offline, please. I see Patty. Yes.
Hi there. Michael, could you just review the progress of booking programs? I know that some people have gotten info on that, but maybe not everybody.
Right. So we have 75 sessions submitted for SPJ, because obviously there are some that are going for the college part. And if you go to mediafest.com/pro-picks, you can see those 75 sessions. We have room in that SPJ hall for about 50, and I figure if we can have another 5 or so, that's about 55 sessions. We had 51 total in Las Vegas. So we're looking, I at least want to have more sessions, SPJ sessions here in DC than we did in Las Vegas. Out of those 75 sessions, that doesn't mean that those are the only sessions to choose from. I'm still going to be meeting with Emily, Chris, and Caroline. If they want specific sessions that kind of hew to the pillars that we have, those might be added, and then we'll subtract some of those 75. Now, those 75 that you see on the website, those are just sent in raw. I mean, they're not edited or anything. And obviously, some of them need work. I've asked a bunch of people, SPJers, what ones kind of tingle their toes, and I might go back to some of those people and see if they're willing to rework some of their sessions. But we're going to be selecting sessions later this summer. Emily Block, Nicole, Michelle Boyette, who's a membership chair, they've all done conventions before. So but I, something for the SPJ chunk of it, I think SPJ Hall, that needs to really be decided by SPJers themselves. So that's, to me, that is essentially Carolyn, Chris, and Emily. And I guess Nicole's on the board. My take on that is I will do what SPJ wants for that hall. And then for sessions that we might want outside of that, that's something we can talk about. But right now, I've got about a dozen sessions that a bunch of people like. That still leaves several dozen sessions to go.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Do I have any other board questions? And if not, I
Oh,
can
board
start with
question,
Celia.
sorry.
No, you're fine, Celia. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my programs at the convention generally draw a lot more students than members of SPJ. Students seem much more interested in the world as a bigger place than just a place where you learn about your craft. Both are very important. I agree with that. But also, I've booked somebody that I really want, who is confirmed with me, Nicole Hannah Jones, and I don't want to leave her hanging. That does not seem fair. I do think that students, I mean, my experience has been that students like the big stuff. They also like the little stuff. And to have a combination is great. But what I'm hearing then, Michael, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that it's possible that the SPJ area might fill up with more, maybe working journalist stuff, SPJ member stuff, and maybe there might be an other place for programs that will have hopefully a pretty good student representation. Is that right?
Yeah, so for instance, your session, which obviously is a great one, everything will be confirmed. You can tell anyone, everything that's been submitted so far will be confirmed before July 1. And the reason for
Okay,
that is
that's good.
a lot of, at least the academics, they need their confirmation before their fiscal year begins. So if they're going to get travel money. So I'm going to run a bunch of the suggestions by Carolyn, Chris, and Emily probably in the next week or so. This weekend, I'm probably just going to get a bottle of Malbec and just start reviewing all the sessions, and I'll send it to them. Celia, if I had to guess, I'm sure they're going to approve that session from you. And if they do, and we think that that's the session that's going to draw a lot of students, we're going to move that outside of the hall and put that in a bigger room. So part of what we're doing is going through the sessions and seeing which ones might draw more. The advantage, I know that, there's this thing, well, what if SPJ Hall recruits a lot of students? And my thinking is great, because we need to recruit them to be SPJ members.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of the people that will be attending won't be members. I want to make sure that the SPJ sessions don't just attract current SPJ members, which is good because it keeps their membership sticky, but it includes a bunch of people that, heard about SPJ, but haven't necessarily thought much about it. And then they're in our space. Carolyn's got her office there. I think we should have a gate that only lets you go out one way, and you have to sign up before you.
It's one way to do membership recruitment, I guess. Thanks. That's very helpful.
Thank you for that question. That was a good one. Any others for Michael specifically? And if not, I want to keep us on schedule.
And I
Great.
see the note that Carolyn, yes, Carolyn has an office for staff. You guys can't go hang out in there, take off your shoes and put it up on her desk. That's for her. But if you need to find someone from SPJ, the reason that we picked that space also, besides the fact that it's on the main floor, is you're like, crap, but I need to talk to someone with SPJ about something, then you know where they are.
That's great. Thank you for these updates. Really appreciate it. And thank you for these questions. If you have additional questions, hit me up, hit Caroline up, hit Michael up, and we will continue on. But that's super exciting. I'm very happy about our Media Fest progress. And I know we're all looking forward to it. Also, board, if anyone is absolutely planning on attending and wants to present, please let me know if you haven't already, because we would love to see you speak. And I would love to make sure that my schedule allows me to watch you speak. Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Finance report. Sarah?
Yeah,
Pass to you.
thanks, Emily. We have a handful of updates from the finance and treasury side. The Finance Committee had our regularly scheduled quarterly meeting in May. We reviewed the SPJ Society April financials, which you all also received and reviewed in the board packet. One difference you may have noticed in those financials, the executive summary at the top of the report is now presented as a brief narrative in layman's terms. The objective here was to tell the story of the numbers and highlight the progress and the challenges in a concise format, which I think we are now doing. So thank you to both Caroline and Courtney for working on that. Beyond that, there weren't any surprises in the April financials in terms of revenue or expenses. After that meeting just last week, in fact, we did receive some late breaking good news on the IRS employment tax credit, which we'd applied for back in early 2024. And Caroline, I think, is going to share a little more about that in her president's report. The Finance Committee also reviewed and accepted Caroline's shift of SPJ investment portfolio to bring SPJ into risk compliance, according to our bylaws. And we did spend a good portion of the meeting discussing the finances on MediaFest. As we all know, a substantial part of SPJ's financial picture, and one with added complexity, MediaFest, given that we are leading with 2 co-partners. And so the Finance Committee agreed that we are going to have an additional meeting this month on June 16th to dig deeper into that. Last but not least, you may all recall that one of the commitments I made in coming into this role of Secretary Treasurer was to work with leadership on ways to better communicate the state of SPJ finances to our membership as a whole. I'm happy to say we're making some progress there. Caroline and Courtney have been working on a visualization, and I believe they may have a mock-up to share here today. Caroline, is there something you can share?
Yes, this is very rough, but the thought is that kind of on a quarterly basis, we would share some just top line information about our revenue for the quarter and, you know, the forecast for the full year. That's an example. And then the same thing for expenses for the quarter and for the full year. Partly because just going back to the revenue for a minute, hopefully, can everyone see this, by the way?
Yes.
Y'all, yeah, see it. Okay, great. So, for example, in the first quarter, you'll see so much of the revenue is awards. But that, you know, when you look at the full year, that shrinks down to a much smaller percentage, you know, 45% versus, you know, a forecasted smaller amount. So, you know, because of the timing of when we run our awards programs. So that's an example of why we would want to do that. And then expenses are similar, you know, that you'll see later in the year, we expect, you know, the expenses for the first quarter versus the year to look different. So that's the idea. And I guess, Sarah, I would just say, our thought is at this point, you know, we've already have our April financials. We are soon to get our May financials. So our thought is to have the first 2 quarters and to put this out in July. So and we could debut it then and hopefully just be something that we roll forward with. And before I cede the floor, I would just say I really want to give a big shout out to Sarah, who has, you know, come in, looked at how the budgets were being done, and she was like immediately like, "Hey, can't we make this more user friendly for non-finance people?" And that resulted in our changing just how we presented our budgets and correspondingly our financial statements. Both for 2025, for both organization budgets. You know, this was a society idea, but we carried it over to the foundation, and we've so now both the society and the foundation financial budgets and financials are much easier to follow for non-finance people. So it were just simple changes, but impactful, I think. And she had mentioned earlier the change in the approach to the executive summary, just making it more approachable, less accountant ease. And so those are good things. I mean, it's progress, not perfection. But I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for the leadership. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caroline. And there was one question in the chat from Jennifer Alice asking about adding some dollar figures to the graphs. And I think they were in there, or maybe not, but I think the plan is to have some actual.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Right now we have percentages, but yeah, these are very rough. And that's a fantastic point, though, that it should be that there's the dollar figures too.
Right. And the plan, and you did say this, Caroline, but I just want to reiterate it. We'll have the first 2 quarters. The goal is to have the first 2 quarters shared out in July. And then after that, just a quarterly report, visualization report available for the members. Okay, that's it from finance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all the work you've done on that and for your transparency. I think it's really beneficial to the overall membership. So this is great, and more to come. Okay. And with that, our next agenda item is Executive Director Report. Caroline, floor is yours.
Oh, great. Well, I again would, like Emily, I would refer people to the written report that I put in there. It's in the packet. As you'll see, I pointed out that I passed my first year anniversary with SPJ May 1st. And I'm really proud of the progress we've made. We still have a lot of progress to make, but I feel like, it's going, well, and I'm really happy to be part of the SPJ community. So as you guys remember, we had a strategic priority setting process. Serving as an advocate and a voice for working journalists really bubbled up to the top. And that has a number of components. One of them is that advocacy, that speaking out. And so I did emphasize that in my written report, talking about the work that we're doing on our own in coalition and with chapters, other organizations. I give you a rundown of the kind of work that I'm doing on a week-to-week basis, daily basis. I'm happy to say we have a new joint statement out today, actually sending a letter to a municipality in Virginia we're co-leads on the letter protesting this absolutely egregious gag policy that has been imposed there. And of course, this is an issue that SPJ has long been a leader on. So we joined with the Freedom of the Press Foundation in writing a letter and sending out press releases on this just today. In the report, I mention some of the highlights of our advocacy work over the past couple of months. Sunshine Week, Ethics Week, had some real wins, and I have an appendix that everybody can look at, with our statements, our letters that we sent, our amicus briefs, and just a few examples of kind of some interviews that we've done to get the word out through the press. So that's a really important priority. I do note that we have staff members who contribute. That said, SPJ's lack of dedicated staffing capacity to advance our advocacy priorities and our strategy, drive that forward, that's less than ideal. But that is the situation at present, and we'd like to change that, but that's where we are. A big win, I'll say, is the new membership platform So we've heard very good feedback. There was a seamless transition to the new platform. So grateful that this happened on time and as we expected and without big problems. I know that was the first thing I really heard about when I started in this position was, oh my gosh, you got to fix this. So I'm very glad that we were able to have this, custom built platform that Billy O'Keefe is the architect of it, and staff have worked with him on it, and that's a win. So I'm very glad. We hope that it's going to help us build back our membership. As I said, we are, about 3,650 right now, total membership. I really hope that we can build it back up. And I know there was a lot of hesitancy on doing major membership drives, at the chapter level, at the national level, with the very flawed previous membership, management system that we had. So I feel like that obstacle has been removed. So I'm hopeful on that. So, I also mentioned in the report the Google training that we're so happy to have helped facilitate at the regional conferences. We are now reaching out to our chapters and offering subsidized training, free training, but also subsidized for having convenings. So we have additional funds that we are looking to disseminate, and I know that we have just sent out an email to our chapters letting them know about that opportunity. And of course, we will have a track of Google training at the MediaFest conference, and we're very fortunate they are also providing substantial financial support for the conference, both in the form of a sponsorship and scholarships. So that's great. Big thing that, the last couple of months is our contests, our competitions. Those are winding down thanks to all the volunteers who make those possible. It's such a heavy lift. Again, there'll be a strong representation at the conference in the fall. We're going to be rolling out, having our announcements for the main SDX competition, the winners for that, coming out in the next few weeks. And we're going to do that virtually via video, as we've been doing in recent years. So that's it. Sarah had mentioned some news about the employee, just on the finance front, the employee retention credits that date back to the pandemic. And you'll remember that the federal government was providing support to nonprofit organizations who retained staff, even though there was severe disruption in our operations. So, Kari. And so that started rolling, though we got our first set of credits, and we're very pleased. It's credits that will be shared between the society and the foundation based on the share of employees, wages that are paid by the two organizations. So, and we are waiting to hear for a couple of other quarters. We already got the credits for 2 quarters in 2020 and 1 quarter in 2021, and we're waiting to hear for 2 more quarters in 2021. So that was good news, and so we're pleased to report that. And please, any questions anybody has, I'd love to field them.
I see Sarah with her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I just want to say overall, I spent some time sitting with your president's report, Caroline, and I appreciate just sort of the thorough recounting of all of the activities, and also trying to imagine how in the world all this was accomplished. It's quite a lot. And if y'all haven't dug into the appendix, it's very juicy. And And you kind of like buried the lead at the very bottom with like these media appearances that were so impressive. And I'm also just wondering, well, first of all, just thank you for all of the dedication and work that you put in. I mean, this is just a tremendously heavy lift. But I'm just wondering, like, when those those media appearances happened, was that publicized and did I just miss it? Like, because I would have loved, I mean, that's awesome. And I would have loved to have amplified that on my own, you know, on my own networks. Because when an SPJ gets, you know, those are all great for our credibility, you know, when you're weighing in these publications. And how can we, what can we do to sort of amplify and get the word out of SPJ as an expert in these important advocacy matters?
Thank you, Sarah, for that. I really appreciate it. And I will very much communicate that willingness and that eagerness to our communications specialist. And she works really hard. And I think that's a great idea. For example, tomorrow I'm going to be on a podcast, and I connected their communications person with ours and said, please work on this to, you know, help us publicize this event. And we found out it's taped tomorrow, but then it runs later in the fall, and they'll be rolling out a series of clips on LinkedIn and elsewhere. So I connected them, and I think we need to do that more. I'm on another webinar next week. I'm going to try to do a similar thing so we could send our social media posts to the board so you all can amplify it. I mean, that would be really great. So.
Thank you for bringing that up. Patty, I see your hand up.
Hi, thank you. I will echo what Sarah said. We have some really good mojo going in SPJ right now. You know, the Media Fest plan sounds really solid. We're going to, of course, work very hard to make sure it's profitable, at least break even. And the amount of activity, both from Emily, from the president's perch, but from headquarters with Caroline is really quite impressive. So based on that observation, I just would like, Caroline, for you to talk a little bit about, and you know where I'm going to go here quickly, the line that says SPJ's lack of dedicated staffing to advance advocacy is less than ideal. Because I read over all the things that we're doing, and as always, it's a flood of different things, many of which are in the advocacy lane. Right? We have long done these things. We just haven't done them in a way that really brings great attention to them, kind of collectively. We are a leading advocate for journalism across the country. So I'd like you to talk about the staffing piece of it. And in an ideal world, what would that look like? And how would that help us achieve this strategic goal of being the leading advocates for journalism in the country? Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Patty. And thank you for those really kind words. They mean a lot to me and the staff. And I know they mean a lot to Emily. Right? And I don't know if Koretsky's still on here, but I'm sure, yes, he's pleased with hearing that as well. So we're very grateful. And in terms of advocacy, we really, when I say less than ideal, I mean, honestly, many of our peer organizations have whole advocacy teams. And we not only do not have a team, we have no dedicated staff for it. I could see need for at least 2 dedicated positions. And this is not like right now, but to grow toward one more focused on our agenda and being really doing the work internally. And then another focused on outreach, because this is so important. We have a great network that other organizations don't have. And this is why we came to what is SPJ's unique value in this space? Because often people will say, well, it seems crowded to me, but what we have that other organizations don't have is that network of members on the ground who can be mobilized across the country. And they can be mobilized. They also can be tapped and listened to and thus authentically represented. There is so much we want to do to authentically listen to our members, to make it a two-way street. This all takes staff capacity that we don't have right now. Again, there is this whole press freedom, ecosystem nationally that we need to be part of. And I have people who want to work with us. We do our best, but if we had more capacity, we could be doing so much more with leading national and international press freedom organizations, bringing our own unique value to that relationship and that partnership. Those are a few comments I have, Patty. You know me, I could go on and on, but I'd invite any comments or questions that anybody else has.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Patty. Any other questions for Caroline right now? Seeing none. Okay, I'd like to open this up to public comment. If I have anyone with general questions, this is your time to shine, please.
I just want to say one thing, and it echoes the last 2 or 3 speakers. There is a really good cohesion amongst all the stakeholders. And we've gotten past this. Well, who are we? What are we doing? What's our purpose? What's we're there. And not only are we actually in real time doing it, we are focusing on what happens in the second half of this year. We're focusing already conversations about when I take the baton from Emily, and Emily's in that conversation. And so is Caroline, and so is Patty, and Matt Hall, and so many people. And so, Emily and I are texting like this meeting's going very well. Like, I don't mind saying that, because my reply is, yeah, we're doing the right things, right? And so, but what I'm getting at is people are talking, people are communicating. There's full transparency. So, maybe the shoe will drop now, where somebody has a heinous statement. But please share the feedback. Keep the real time feedback coming, because that's helping us make real time decisions amongst the stakeholders. And echoing Patty and Sarah and Caroline and Emily, I feel good. We're headed in the right direction. There's a hell of a lot more work to do, and we're going to do it. But appreciate everyone and what's going on right now. And it's only June. Got a whole half a year left. So
you have a whole additional year left too. So careful what you wish for.
one step at a time.
But no, thank you so much for that. Really well said. Do we have any public comment?
A question for Carolyn about, I think everyone is very relieved that we have a better platform for membership. But I asked Crystal for the unaffiliated members in the DMV, so in the Washington, D.C. area. And there were, let's see, 2/3 more. I mean, there were double the number of members in the chapter that were listed as unaffiliated. Now, many of them were chapter members, and I was able to, by hand, get those people out of there. But I wondered what the game plan now was to help chapters reach those unaffiliated members, many of whom made the mistake, as far as I can tell, of paying more than 1 year in advance, or paying for, I think there's sort of a lifetime membership you can get. So what's the game plan for that? That would be really, really helpful.
Right. So what you're saying here is that chapters, you think that proactively it would be helpful for chapter, but they can see that, right? Maybe do some kind of training for chapter leaders to show them how they can see their unaffiliated members in their area. Is that right?
I mean, to tell you the truth, to tell you the truth, I think actually, since SPJ National created the problem, I do believe that SPJ National has the obligation to help us fix it. I mean, yeah, I did take Crystal sent me the unaffiliated members, but I think that that should almost be automatic. And then I think that SPJ really, ideally, National should be reaching out to the unaffiliated members. I sent my own personal letter to every unaffiliated email I had. I I invited them to join the chapter. I also invited them to come to our Dateline dinner. I have no idea if that had any impact on them at all. But in an ideal world, it seems like SPJ National would be trying to help us here with repairing the the scores of people we just lost. People would try to renew. They might be successful in renewing at the national level, not necessarily invited to join a chapter. This is not anything you don't know. And I'm not trying, I mean, I'm very glad that progress has been made. And I don't mean to sound critical, although I probably do. But I think we, we had, I don't think I'm listed as a member of my chapter. I am listed as president of it, so that's progress. I know our past president was listed as not being a member of SPJ since 1962. So that's a long time, not to be listed when you're paying your dues. I think, again, she made the mistake of paying multiple years. So I get it that SPJ National doesn't have a huge staff, but you do have a lot of the data. I think that it would be wonderful if maybe National could send out to all members that have dropped off over the past 5 years and say, we want you back and please join your chapter. It might be.
We're definitely planning to do that. That lapsed.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. We've already done that to some lapsed members, a certain percentage back to the first of the year, but we are going to be going back further. We didn't want to do too much at once. We wanted to try to take the lowest hanging fruit first. But then, because if you do too much, then as you say, we have a very small staff, and a lot of times people need one-on-one help.
Right.
To get right. And so if you do thousands at the same time, then guess what? They're going to have the same suboptimal experience as they've had in the past. So this is the plan to go back. We have lists of many lapsed members. And absolutely part of that messaging should be, please join your chapters. That said, I think, there is an opportunity for people to decide not to be a member, as you know, Celia. I'm not telling you.
Sure. No. I understand that.
But it's definitely part of the plan to be seeking, past lapsed members. And we have good lists. It's not like we don't have lists. We do. And believe me, I'm chomping at the bit. And I was like, okay, we got to send out a mass email to everybody. And I was like, what? I was told, like, wait a minute, we do need to do it in a measured way, because I share your sense of urgency.
And I appreciate it. And as I said, I am very appreciative of the fact that this problem seems to be resolved. And that's a huge, huge thing. It's just when I see, the numbers in my chapter and the numbers of unaffiliated, it makes me weep a little. So I mean, but thank you. And thank you for looking ahead to doing this, because I think it will make a big difference.
I hope so.
This is good feedback. Thank you for that, Celia. And also, I would just echo Caroline's comments that, Billy did a tremendous job streamlining this database. Information is still rolling in, but the beauty of it being ours and being proprietary is that we now have access to filter this information in a cleaner and more streamlined way than we could before. So I think having the feedback of being able to, for HQ to be able to look at a chapter designation and then look at who in the past 5 years was also part of a chapter and is now unaffiliated and do those comparisons. That's access that we didn't have previously, or at least not in an easy manner. It was very clunky. So just the fact that we have that is already a win, and we're going to be able to do more with that information. I really commend you for being so proactive and manually culling through those and emailing all of those past members. That's amazing. And that's above and beyond sort of advocacy work. So thank you for doing that. But the goal here, and with hearing feedback like this, is that we can hopefully make it easier to do things like that and streamline it. So this is good feedback. Sarah, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I'm putting on my hat here as a member of the SPJ board in Los Angeles, Celia, because what you're saying really resonates. It has been a real challenge, and also we've been sort of like reluctant to encourage new membership until this database got fixed. Now we're very happy, and then we also see all of these things that you're describing and big opportunities to regrow the membership here in LA. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And I also really like the idea that you suggested, Celia, and it sounds like, Caroline, something that you already had in mind, to get some kind of a letter from National. And I'd love to coordinate with our local chapter on that, not just have it come from National, but like have it be a coordinated effort so that our local chapter participates in it. But we also have the voice of National so that we really show up in a way that people understand how, you know, what's something that can be kind of confusing, like, but I'm already a member, you know, we hear that all the time. So people can really understand and come up with some languaging around that, that everyone can understand about why it's both is better.
Thank you for that. Okay,
Yep.
public comment continuing. I'm going to try and ask everyone to limit their comments to 2 minutes or shorter, just because we're starting to come up on an hour and I want to respect everyone's time. But Stephanie, you're next. Let me unmute you.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to reassure Celia, we've had the problem in the DC chapter for years, and we used to be able to address the problem of unaffiliated members. And I think now that the whole list is in much better shape, we'll be able to do that. That's something that we've done, and I appreciate what you've done so far on it. And I think we can do a lot more at the chapter level. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Are there any other public comments? Going once. Going twice. Seeing none. Kari, really quick, I just have 2 notes for the whole board. If I catch you in time, maybe I didn't. I will just text him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still here.
Oh, you're here. Hello. Okay. These are just old business, new business. I just have 2 notes of new business for the entire board. And the main one is that in the near future, we will have a few more awards to vote on now that those application periods have closed. These are awards that some of the most prestigious honors that will be given out at our Media Fest. We didn't want to bombard you with a packet right before this meeting, so those applications will be rolling in very soon to the board inboxes, and we'll have rubrics and keep it as efficient as possible. And I have all the faith in this board that we can do it in a really like streamlined process. So just keep an eye on your inboxes for that. And then for the board, but also anyone else that's here, our next scheduled general meeting is on September 3rd at 3 p.m. Okay. That's everything, Kari. You could get off. Thank you for hanging on.
Thanks. See you next time.
Yep. Okay. With that, anyone else have any new business to add? Seeing none. Okay. Extremely streamlined, and we did it within an hour. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Okay. Thank you so much for all of your time. Talk soon.
Thank you.